Good
Hello.
morning. Happy Wednesday. We're going to wait a few minutes for a couple of you guys to get together.
I am standing in for Sophia today, so I hope that I can do justice for my role. So anyway, welcome to Starter Coffee. Really excited to see you. This is my first time doing it digital, so
excited. It's going to be good. Good morning, guys. We're waiting just a few minutes to let some people jump on. Feel free to say good morning so we know you're here. We'll do introductions later. It's another Coffee Wednesday. Good morning, Janelle.
Hello. Okay. Good to see you all.
We'll get going in just a few minutes, few seconds. Yay. Thank you, Janelle. All right, Trey, let's get going.
Let's do it.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to another episode of Startup Virtual Coffee. Today looks a little different. Miss Sophia is on vacation, but Dre is standing in, and I'm so excited to have her. We're going to do a little housekeeping. Startup Tucson is a nonprofit, and we work to really grow businesses in our town. We start with new small businesses and work from there. I do not have Sophia's script down, but you know what? We are innovating. We're doing all the things here at Startup Tucson. Our upcoming announcements. So we have Startup Lab on July 13th, and that's from 3 to 5. Make sure you register, especially if you have a new business starting out. Make sure that you're checking out Tucson Shops Tucson, because we are back on semi-lockdown and our businesses need to stay alive. So please make sure you are supporting them. Also, make sure you're supporting blacksfriday.com. They have a ton of small businesses on there as well. And then we are taking a July break from coffee, but we will be back in August. We will give you updates towards the end of July. So this is our last coffee for July, and we're so glad that you are joining us. I am Kenesha. I am the program manager here at Startup Tucson, and I'm going to throw it over to Dre.
All right. So I am Dre Thompson. I'm the Executive VP of Startup Tucson. And I am super, super delighted to introduce Hannah Makela from Brunch Babes. So she is the owner and founder of a local community group called Brunch Babes Tucson. And she founded this group with the intent of connecting the community, supporting local businesses, and sort of forming lasting friendships. She'll talk a little bit more about kind of the decisions that led her to building this forum. But now it's in its second year, if you haven't heard of it, and it's really become a place for local women to come together, bond over their love of brunching and all things local. Brunch Babes now has over 6,300 followers on their Instagram, 2,600 members in their Facebook group, and have hosted over 86 local events. Hannah is a whiz at social media, and if that is something you've been struggling with, definitely be sure to drop some questions for her in the questions section as we go through this. So a lot of these events have been really diverse in what they are. They can include body positive pool parties, book club meetings, happy hours, brunches, fitness classes, workshops, and countless other themed events really centered around enjoying each other and enjoying Tucson. When she is not forming this amazing army of really cool women, Hannah also spends her time working in marketing and public relations for Storyteller PR, which we absolutely love. Wonderful organization. And she has special interest in social media. She's been featured in Voyage, Phoenix, and Tucson Weekly, and has collaborated with local businesses such as Visit Tucson, Downtown Tucson Partnership, and Hotel Congress. So we are absolutely delighted to have her here today. And no further ado, let's bring her on.
Thank you for being here. Introduce yourself, guys. Make sure you're introducing yourself in the comments so Hannah knows that you're here and what you do. Hannah, welcome.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. I have my coffee. I'm ready with my themed little mug. So cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
I think I might be one of your youngest guests you've had so far, so that's pretty exciting. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Hannah Makela. I was born and raised in Minnesota, but I've been in Tucson for about 3 years, and I was in Phoenix for about 5 years before this. So I've been in Arizona for a while. I come from a super large family. I'm the youngest of 7. So my household was really busy growing up, and I felt the need, being the youngest, to like strongly make my mark. So I think that's where my independent streak comes from. I've always had a very adventurous and social spirit. So I'm constantly looking for new hobbies, new friends, new events to go to. And I'm definitely a true Enneagram 3 for anyone who is into the Enneagrams. I'm an ESFJ and a Ravenclaw. So I feel like that's a very important point to include in my bio.
Oh, funny. I just did my Enneagram and I have a 3, which is really weird. That's so fun.
I feel like we're a rare breed.
Yeah. Very much so tell us about Brunch Babes.
For sure. So it's a group I formed in March of 2018. So it's just barely into its 2nd year. And it was a way for me to help myself connect with the Tucson community here more. Like I said, I'm not from here. And so I felt like I was lacking a bit there. I host a variety of all sorts of local events, anything with local businesses to help them shine and help them stand out. Because I know when there's so many businesses, it can be kind of hard to make your mark and to seem unique and individual. So I try to make sure the community sees what makes them so special, the people behind the brand, and I also help the members form, like I call them, lasting connections. It sounds a little bit cheesy, but bear with me. I call it lasting connections because some people come truly just for networking and other people come for just friendships. But I think in a true normal life balance, you don't really have just one or just the other. They go hand in hand. So I call it lasting connections.
Perfect. I joined Brunch Babes like 2 years ago, and it's been so exciting. So was there a need that you felt like you had to fill with starting Brunch Babes?
Yeah, definitely. So when I first moved here, I had kind of the freedom to work a little bit less and explore. Excuse me, my headphones are getting adventurous themselves and wanting to pop out. So I wanted to kind of explore my career a little bit more, but I decided to work part-time. So at the time, I was using half my time to explore and half my time to make money. And I was working with young children. And I realized that was the quickest way I could isolate myself from people. All I was meeting was like 3-year-olds. And they're great. They're adorable, but they can't hold the kind of conversations that I was needing. And I just felt really lonely. I mean, I had moved here with my boyfriend, but he's very antisocial. So I wasn't really getting out in these circles that I had wanted to. And I don't have my own children and I don't go to school here. I don't particularly enjoy like going out to party. So I had tried a lot of really strange ways to make friends and gotten really curious and adventurous with that. I actually started hitting up people in malls. That sounds so creepy. Let me explain. But I was shopping at a store and I needed help, and the sales clerk had came over to help me, and she was around my age, super friendly, and we actually talked for about 20 minutes. And afterwards I was like, hey, like I'm new here. Do you think I could grab your number? We could hang out sometime. And she gave me her number, never messaged me. And later I was like, I think she thought I was hitting on her. I probably should have clarified, but that didn't work. So I don't necessarily recommend that. I tried meetup events. I tried messaging people through Instagram. Like I tried it all. I'm pretty, as you can tell, outgoing. So I wasn't too scared to try these things, but they were really exhausting. I eventually landed on Bumble BFF, which is something I could talk about for hours. It's just like the dating app, but you swipe on making your friends. So you swipe on one person at a time. And I probably in 6 months met about 30 different people. So I went like full board into making friends, and I realized this is a really exhausting format. You can't meet one person for coffee like 3 times a week. You have no emotional energy left. And what if you don't connect with just one person, but it's not at fault to that person? They're just not your person or your cup of tea. I started to feel a lot of personal guilt with that and realized I needed something that was a bigger group format, so you have a chance to meet multiple people at once. And in case you don't hit it off with that one person, they might hit it off with each other. So that's kind of where it all started from in my brain.
BFF. Did you even come about that, Dre? Bumble BFF? Have you ever heard of it?
I did. When I first moved to Tucson, I explored it as well, which I really love about this. This is a great note for all startups out there. You really started with a problem that you were having personally, and then, okay, if I'm having this, other people have to be having this too. So can you talk a little bit about how that actually started to lead into Brunch Babes? What was that jumping over the hurdle? Okay, actually, let me do something about it.
Totally. So at first, I actually started inviting small groups to my house. Do not recommend this part, but you learn what works and what doesn't. So this I had tried maybe once or twice, and I was like, absolutely not inviting people over into my home that I don't know very well ever again. But I really enjoyed the fact that I had just left it open-ended. So I said, if I match with you on Bumble BFF and I invite you, you're welcome, but you can also invite people that you match with. And so it kind of left this very open-ended format where anyone was welcome as long as they had heard about it somehow. They just kind of had to sign up and RSV in some way. So I decided I needed it to be a little bit more formal. We needed to meet in public locations for safety and all of these things. So in a true millennial fashion, I had to make it Instagram official because that's what it means to be official, right? And so I was thinking it would actually kind of turn out like a Sex and the City episode where they would all kind of go to brunch once a month and just catch up on each other's lives. And I thought we would have 5 to 10 members. I had no expectations for the amount of people that would come to this. I was thinking it would be super small. So I just kept engaging through people through Instagram comments actually, and just chatting with people online. And by the 3rd or 4th brunch, it was already selling out and I couldn't fit enough people at one table. So I just kind of kept growing and rolling with it.
Awesome. So I'm so curious about the community building aspect of that. So you said you kind of learned along the way. Can you tell us a little bit about the community and how you've been intentional about building that with what you do?
So after a couple of the gatherings, I kind of realized there was part of the picture was missing here. It wasn't a perfect equation. People were making friends and I couldn't guarantee they were hanging out after or that was lasting, but there just seemed to be, you show up to brunch, you make a friend and that's it. And I wanted it to be a little bit deeper. Brunch is great, friends are great, but we're missing something here. There needs to be a better purpose. So I realized for myself personally, technically, if you make a few friends, you have your core friends, now your social schedule is full. Well, where's my growth in this company? What am I going to keep doing? Because I can't just make 2,000 friends. I don't have time to hang out with 2,000 people. So what's my role going to be here? So I decided beyond just being the host and helping people feel safe and welcome in the community, I wanted to connect with the business owners themselves because they're who make up this city. And I can make our events so much better if I can find out what their strengths are, what they want to do, and kind of actually connect with them on a personal level. So I started reaching out to the businesses that I wanted to work with. I would kind of court them in a sense, if you will. I would start following them on Instagram and engage with their content for a while, give them compliments that were always genuine. But I think it's always really important not to always just go straight for what you want, but to treat people as humans and to spend time getting to know them first.
Oh, that's a really helpful tip.
Yes, I like that you talked about courting them first and then kind of growing from there. I think we seem to miss that mark as humans. We just want to jump all in and not really get to people. And then you've jumped all in and then you've gone down the deep end and you're like, well, I don't even want to connect with them like that. So you're making the connections and then dating and then bringing them into the group so other people can make connections, which I love. And then out of Brunch Babes, you kind of spun the book club and some other things. What was your thought process behind that? Because the book club it's jumping. It's a lot of people in the book club. There's a lot of books going on, especially during quarantine. So what was the thought behind spinning the group off to little smaller groups?
So I think for about the first 6 months, I was so focused on being consistent that I was scared to add in some of these other elements. I was like, no, we are a brunch group. But like I said, I realized things were missing a little bit. I'm limiting myself by sticking just to brunch. There's so many businesses I can't work with that don't have brunch menus that might have an amazing dinner menu. Or happy hours are just as fun as brunch. Like, why wouldn't we go to happy hour? And so I started thinking about all these other businesses I could work with. And I realized I can't stick to just brunch events anymore. So I started expanding beyond those. And the book club is kind of its own special thing because part of our group is really learning from the people around us. And there's no better way that I found to do that than through a book club, because we pick a lot of different books that are like, we read things for Pride Month, and we make sure we're focusing on Black authors, on feminist authors. We read from indie bookstores, and we try to do all of these things to help us have personal growth, but then also discuss them with each other in a safe and welcoming environment so that we can actually grow as like human beings, I guess. So the book club has just become a really special place for that. And I feel like I've learned so much. It's one of my favorite places because I don't have to wear as much of a host hat. I get to be just a guest alongside everyone else most of the time and just listen and hear everyone else's thoughts and opinions and learn from them. So it's really fun.
You've also done, right? You've also done fitness classes, workshops, and things like that. And I know you're hosting some kind of book giveaway. I tried to follow last night. I don't know Tucson well. Can you talk a little bit about the scavenger hunt with the book?
Okay. So through 2 years of running this group and then also working for a PR and marketing company, I've done a lot of giveaways, a lot of different things on social media, and I just get sick of seeing the same things over and over. So I try to put my own spin on it. And through the pandemic, we one of the book club members actually connected with an author who had a book coming out this month. And the book is called Brag Better, which I think is a super fun title. And it's something that I really need help with. It's about singing your own praises. So it's like, I guess technically a self-help book. And it helps you learn to sing your praises, to ask for equal pay, and all sorts of wonderful things like that. So I know a lot of women can definitely resonate with needing help in that department. And probably men too, but especially women. I think we're conditioned to ask for a little bit less. So I'm trying to focus on that this year. And this book was the perfect way to give us some sort of formal training, if you will. So after connecting with this author, she connected us with her publisher, and she sent us 10 copies for our book club. So I was completely shocked, but I didn't want to just ask people to follow each other on Instagram and leave it at that. I decided we're in a pandemic. We can't go visit each other. Like, how can I make this fun? So I started thinking about the little free libraries, those little, like, they look like little birdhouses with the books around town. And I realized that's a nice, like, public setting where I could just drop a book and it's super cute, and I can leave it in there and drop hints of where I'm going, and then someone could go follow my hints and make it a little book scavenger hunt and grab a book. So that's what we're doing this week.
That's so fun. So much
I love
fun.
that creativity. That's amazing. I love how you are constantly playing with the format of social media and making it engaging, breaking out of the molds. Because I think people are afraid to kind of get out of that template with social media and do something like this. And it's just so successful and people love it. It's so consistent with this brand of discovery and connection with your community. I think it's so awesome. So much to learn from that.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so talking about that a little bit more, that's one example of how you've been sort of pivoting during the, during the pandemic. So what are your kind of thoughts in terms of what was your process of transitioning to more virtual? And then what are your thoughts for moving forward and transitioning back to in-person?
I feel like that's the money question these days. I literally like wrote myself a note and I was like, don't say pivot, don't say pivot, but Dre said it, so you win. So it's honestly, I have to start from a place of humility, I think, with this one, because I think every business owner and every person needs to hear this. Everything isn't always smooth sailing, especially in a pandemic. So in the beginning, I just took time for personal space and for headspace because I didn't feel like I was in a healthy enough space to start hosting a lot of virtual events. So I kind of took a backseat and just listened to what the community wants. So I think that's a really important thing to do with any business that you own, is to listen to what your customers and what your community wants. results. It's not going to be successful if you build this amazing event or amazing experience, but it's not something they want. So I just was working on my social listening and taking time for mental headspace. I think that kind of helped me come at it from a healthier perspective. I definitely didn't have problems before all of this filling up our events, which is really amazing, but also we had smaller scale events, so that was a little bit easier. But virtual, there's almost too much possibility sometimes, and it can be daunting. You can have hundreds of people show up in a space where you before might have only been able to do 15. So I've taken a lot of time recently to like research and to go to tons of online events. I've been going to a lot of like creative mornings experiences like across the country. I've been networking with random women in social media. I met some ladies in New York last week. So I think it's just trying on new hats right now and seeing what works and what doesn't, and just kind of testing the waters, and also just being active more on social media. We all have a lot more time on our hands for the most part right now, and that's a way we can still connect as humans. So I know sometimes people are like, it's just Instagram or it's just Facebook. And it's like, no, there's a human, like we mentioned earlier, on the other side of this. Like before you send them a message, like make sure to say hello and how are you doing? And actually have a real connection, because I've made friends through Instagram. Like it can happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of a long drawn out response to that. I'm still figuring it out essentially, but I'm having fun figuring it out now and less stressed about it.
That's a good place to be in, because we don't know what's gonna happen, but you've transitioned your events from in-person to online so seamlessly, which I think makes the community happier. And you've also taken the time to really support the businesses that you supported pre-COVID, with IG takeovers and things like that. Can you talk a bit about that and why it was so important for you to make sure you're still highlighting the businesses that you were before?
So speaking of terms that I make up, one of the titles, self-appointed titles I've given myself is Champion of Community, or Community Champion. I wish someone was hiring for this role because I would apply. I think it sounds so fun. But I've been trying to just continue to support these businesses like even more fiercely than before. They need our help even more right now. And I think that social media, like I said, people are spending more time statistically right now online. So if I'm posting an extra 2-3 stories about these businesses, that's going to be seen more now than it was before. So I'm trying to share as much as I can. I'm trying to go pick up in person from takeout restaurants whenever I can and just share everything essentially. But we're in a really special time right now. So I'm just listening to the businesses and seeing what they need and reaching out to them to see how I can help them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's, I feel like what I'm also curious about kind of where are you seeing this going? Where are you seeing Brunch Babes going in future? Where are you anticipating for the rest of 2020, but then also kind of beyond this? Where do you see this developing? What's your grand vision for Brunch Babes? Your grand, very ambitious vision.
How much time do you have, Dre? No, I'm just kidding. So a lot of things have changed with the pandemic right now. So the goals and visions are also shifting alongside that. But I think the group has still remained the same because, like I mentioned before, the social listening and kind of giving the people a sense of what they want. And so it's not that you have to do everything people tell you to do, but you have to listen to see what they want. So in the beginning, when I realized people wanted to connect more and were missing out because maybe they couldn't go to a Saturday brunch and that's the only time I was doing them. So I started doing weekday happy hours, things like that. I was able to expand with who I connected with. I started the book club and I kept changing things to see what worked. And we kept expanding and expanding, expanding. And now we're massive, which is crazy to me. And it's so exciting. But I think the point here is that I still need to keep changing. We're in a pandemic and we're probably going to stay virtual for an unforeseeable future. And that's okay, because I want our group to always feel safe, first of all. And I don't feel safe going out in public places. And I mean, right now we're technically on lockdown 2.0. So I think it's just important to continue to evolve. And so our businesses are going to keep doing that. We're going to keep evolving, keep finding ways to connect with each other in authentic and genuine ways, form those lasting connections, and help the community.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and have fun.
So any kind of like as okay, I'm hiring you for the position of community champion right now. What as a champion would you want to share with your community for 2020? What is what message do you have for us as community champion that I just nominated?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for hiring me. I'm so grateful to be here. No, I think you always have to start a position of leadership with strength and kindness. So people want a leader that is strong and ready to lead them, if you will, but they don't want someone to tell them what to do. They want someone to lead them, to guide them. So be that leader who listens and approach everything with kindness. Take a second to think about what would your best self do is something I've learned recently. I'm learning how to meditate, and that was something they mentioned. So I think always thinking about the lens of your best self. If your best self would do that, that's a great place to start. And for sure, make sure to have clear and open expectations. So whatever you're doing, make your path clear to those around you, and they'll understand what to expect from you and how they can trust you and rely on you. And then engage like crazy on social media for sure. And I know this is honestly one of the worst things in my personal opinion. I love social media, but I hate engaging sometimes. But it's so necessary. In the beginning, I would engage on social media for hours and hours a day. Now I've been able to cut that time down, but it's still something I personally do every single day because that's our community. And that's what a leader should do. We should connect with our community. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. And as we go into this, folks, if you have questions, drop those into the chats now as we wrap up our final questions for our speaker.
I love questions. So
talking about being a leader and really giving people what they want, can you talk a little bit about trust building and what that looks like to really cultivate a community, especially now? I think everyone is trying to cultivate some kind of community. What does that look like?
I think even amidst the pandemic, you can strive for consistency in all that you do. So like I said, that's a way to make yourself very reliable and trustworthy. And even if it's something as simple as saying, you want to talk about workout routines or your cocktail recipes or your latest book reviews, start telling your audience every Tuesday, I'll be sharing this, and show up and be consistent in whatever it is that you're doing. I think that's so, so important because it starts to build structure around what you're doing, and you can change it as you go. You're not stuck to the structure because it's your structure, but just create some sort of format for what you're doing and be a little bit more formal with that. And then connection isn't a one-way street. So like I mentioned before, that social engagement is so important. If you want people to like your pictures, you want thousands of likes, or you want hundreds of comments, or whatever it is you're striving for, you can't get that if you're not liking and commenting on other people's pages. It's not going to happen. It's a two-way street. So make sure that, the golden rule, do unto others is like you'd want them to do unto you. So it applies to social media. I learned it in elementary school and it's still kicking today. So make sure to do that. And as far as, easy wins, social media, you just got to make sure you're connected. Facebook, Instagram, they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be that Pinterest standard. Just show up, be consistent, and make sure all of your links and things are working. But just hit those basic key elements and you'll be set up for success. For example, I thought of this the other day. I would much rather go to like an awesome dentist who makes super ridiculous TikToks and is like dancing in his little chair and like showing off his tools than a dentist who is just posting like graphic images of how to floss my teeth. Personally, because I want that human connection and that human element. And the dentist is a scary place for most of us. So now I feel like I know my dentist because I saw him dancing on TikTok and making a fool of himself. And true story, my dentist is actually on TikTok. So I actually really love that. They're up in Marana. So if anyone needs a recommendation, I'll send you their TikTok. But just trust the human connection behind a business. I think every single business needs the face to be shown behind it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that CEO, but like Kenesha, for example, at Startup has been a great face of the business lately. And she's driven a huge like human element to it and has made so many people feel more connected to the brand. So I think just it can be evolving. Maybe someone wears that hat for a month and you share that, I don't know, structure, or there's a lot of different ways to go with it, but just make sure to be a human behind your brand, please.
We're gonna jump into questions, but I want to talk about TikTok because Dre has been telling us we need to get a TikTok. How many things about TikTok? Why we need to get it? What we can do to cultivate community on TikTok. We're great dancers, so I think we have that down. But like, what can we do to cultivate the community on TikTok?
People, I think the first like common opinion with TikTok is it's all Gen Z, which isn't true. But even if it was true, don't you want Gen Z to start, you know, valuing your brand anyways? They have money now. They can do things now. They're becoming adults. So don't also give up on Gen Z. But the majority of the platform isn't Gen Z anymore. It's grown so much during this pandemic. So I've just been having a lot of fun getting creative with it because I haven't had a chance to be as creative with Instagram and things like that because I've been doing it for so long. Some of that creative spark has gone away. So now TikTok has been really fun and I've been focusing on that more for like our book club angle, but I'm having so much fun sharing books on there. And it's just a different sense of community because no one takes themselves very seriously. So if you're a brand that wants to just especially expand nationally or good morning, or just reach people in a different way, I think it's a great way to be able to show personality. So it's super, super fun on there. And I at least recommend testing the waters and just seeing what it's like. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on there and I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, for Kenesha, I don't know if people know this. Kenesha is a professional dancer, and so I'm like, we need to leverage this for our brand. We need to get out there, do some fun videos. Yes.
Step Up to the Streets, Kenesha edition. I love the Step Up movies, and I want you to recreate them all.
All right, should we get to some questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Let's do this one.
Okay. Hi, Laura. One wonderful boss lady. I was like, oh, I recognize this name. Good morning. So, storyteller PR in the house. Thank you. So, what would your best self do? Oh, yeah. This was the quote I was mentioning. I learned through the meditation the other day. Being a true Enneagram 3, I realized I don't have a lot of chill. It's a common joke in my household. And so something I realized through this meditation was it was actually a self-help meditation where it's something to just help you feel grounded and to feel more centered in your goals. And that was something they talked about, what your best self would do. So I actually have written it down on a little Post-it note. And I think if anyone wants to come up with their own personal affirmations, this is a good one to start with. Put it on your mirror, put it on a Post-it note by your computer or anything like that, and just start there.
Okay. What about, yeah.
I actually love this question because we do not and we will not ever. Maybe eventually we will have some sort of like fun package deal. Like if you want to get some free swag or fun swag or, you know, things like that, there's definitely going to be growth in that direction, but we will never have a membership fee because like I said, coming from a family of seven kids, like I just have this strong pull in my heartstrings where I just want to make sure that people feel like no matter what their finances are, they can still come and make friends. So we will always in some capacity have free events where people can make that connection because that's super important to me. I don't think you should have to have money to have friends. That's ridiculous. And I think you should be able to connect with people of all sorts of backgrounds. So I will always have free events and there will never be a membership fee in that way. So thanks for that
That's
question.
Great. So it's not a lot of communities that will do non-membership fee. I think that makes you more accessible. That will really help people find you and want to be a part of what you're doing, whether it's online or in person.
Yeah, we more so structure it based on each individual event too. So for each of the events that we do, it might be ticketed, but there's no membership fee involved with that. Some of, like I said before, some of them are just free and you can show up. And if you want to buy things from the business, you can, but I like to keep it open-ended. Tips for creating an online brand voice. This is a good one. So for my brand, you can tell it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of sunshine and yellow involved. And I just realized in the beginning, for me personally, it didn't make sense to write out these very formal captions and almost like essay style, because it's about making friends and these genuine and honest connections. So it's much better for my brand to be conversational, to be silly, and just to have fun with it, because in the end, it's about making those friendships. So I think it's important to take a step back, think about what your end goals are. So if you are something that's maybe a copy editor, do not go with my style. That isn't going to work for you. Make sure your grammar is perfect and things like that. So I think it's just taking that step back first and establishing where you want to grow with this, but then also switching it up. Once again, with those faces that you show behind your brand, feel free to rely on them for their brand voices too. Like you can do a style, a lot of the clients we work with, I'll do something like this. I will have the boss man or boss lady write in, and I'll say like from the desk of whoever. So then you can get a sense of that person's personality and their voice, and you can get a little bit of a different aspect from them. So I think it's just important to connect as humans once again, and to use a little bit more personal style, unless you do have a more formal company like a copy editor. Why is that the only example I can think of? But you get it.
Well, we have time for a couple more questions, guys. But Hannah, what advice or like your most fabulous tip do you have to leave for the community today?
Oh boy, that's a hard one. Let me think. I think a lot of it is following your passions, to be honest. In the beginning, when I had wanted to start this, I was scared to start it. So first of all, growth in the uncomfortable is something that I'm learning, especially lately with a lot of the anti-racism resources out there. So make sure if you're uncomfortable, that's a good sign, honestly. And that's something I'm teaching myself. So find growth in that uncomfortable and start with your passions. If you're not passionate about it, it's not going to last, it's not going to sustain, and you're going to burn out. So when I first started this idea, I always wanted to find a way to make more friends and to go to events and connect with community. And yes, I didn't start necessarily with all of those pieces at once, but I incorporated different passions and put them together to one big giant passion, which is why 2 years later, I'm still having fun with it and I'm still enjoying putting in the work. So I think it's important to listen to yourself. And if you don't like doing that, stop. Just stop. And I'm not saying, I mean, obviously there's a bit of every job that you're not going to love. So if you don't love writing emails, sorry, you're going to have to write some emails. That's not what I mean. I mean, just follow those big passions and those core values that you have, and that happiness and that strength that you have behind that will resonate with your audience.
I love that. Dre, do you have any questions?
Yeah, this might be kind of putting you on the spot, but I am curious about kind of the partnerships that you built with the small businesses. Is that something that folks can hire you for? Can they like sponsor you to participate in their brand? How can other businesses sort of leverage this amazing voice and community that you've built? Because I know that's something a lot of businesses are interested in tapping into.
Yes, there's definitely a couple of different ways. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or email me at brunchbabestucson@gmail.com. Either way, I mean, I'm the same person that mans it all, so it'll go to the same place. But there's a couple of different ways you can go about it. It depends what their interests are. If it's an event, maybe it's just a social media post or a social story. But recently, I've been working on my website, which is about to go live later this month. It's been sitting there, but I haven't gone live with it because I wanted to start it with this purpose of community a little bit more, and it just wasn't sitting right with me yet. And last week I had realized that what better way to incorporate community than to ask the community to be featured. So I started actually putting out a call to community members to pitch me their ideas. And so I've received several pitches already, and we'll launch the website with a few of those on there already, featuring different local businesses, brunch things, how to make friends, how they're making friends in the pandemic, things like that. But then beyond that, these articles will still keep coming out and I'll still continue featuring these businesses. So I've been talking to a lot of local businesses lately. So if they're interested in something like that, just send me a message.
Oh, I'm excited for your website coming out. That's exciting.
Thank you.
Make sure to tell us what it is so we can also promote it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Where can people find you? Because there's a lot of new people in town. Tell them where we can find you, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay, perfect. So I am Brunch Babes Tucson on Facebook and on Instagram. If you go on our Facebook and click groups, we also have 2 groups on there. There's the Brunch Babes main group and then the Brunch Babes Reads, our book club. I recommend joining both. You'll find fantastic recommendations from the entire community, and it's just a really cool way to connect in a more casual atmosphere. And then our book club is also on Instagram now as its own separate entity, and that's Brunch Babes Reads as well.
Perfect. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you finally coming on.
Of course, this was fun. I love working with you ladies. So this gave me a chance to kind of sit alongside my heroes and do something new.
Wonderful.
Have you here.
Rumor has it you have margarita recipes, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. We can talk about margaritas all day long. That came out of quarantine. Ray, thank you for jumping on today and standing in for Sophia. I truly appreciate it. And we're matching. We're doing the matching thing. Guys, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Virtual Coffee. Remember that we are taking a July break, but we will be back fast and furious in August. Yes, we are on quarantine, but do not gain the 2.0 quarantine 15. Enjoy the rest of the month, and we will see you in August. Thank you, guys.
Bye.